Man, my mind was blown this morning. Ryan Clark from ESPN, he said something thought-provoking, provocative, interesting, bold, honest about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens last night. The Ravens and the Chiefs kicked off the NFL season last night, and Lamar Jackson, in my view, cost the Baltimore Ravens the game. He was inaccurate. He can't throw from the pocket. There's a hole in his game. The two-time MVP, the messiah of black quarterbacks. And lo and behold, let's listen to Ryan Clark make an analogy and make a point that I thought was very bold and accurate. Play the clip.
We've been talking basketball. We talked about Kevin Durant. Lamar Jackson right now is like Russell Westbrook. Right? We watch Russell Westbrook throughout the regular season and even in the playoffs have these great statistical games, has this huge impact on what teams are doing. But you remember when he and Dame Lillard went head to head and it got emotional. He couldn't make a shot, right? Everything he was trying to aim, every time he was open, it was hitting the back of the iron. It wouldn't go in. And what did Dame Lillard do? At the end of the game, Dame Lillard sidestepped, shot the three, and he hit us with the right. That's the right. That's the difference right now between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. He can do so much, and he did so much last night. And it's almost that you feel bad killing him about those two throws because of what he did. Yeah. But that's the position. If I play lockdown defense at the cornerback position the entire game, and then I give up a deep ball in the 2 minute drive, I'm wrong. I've cost.
Wow. Holy cow. Are things changing? People can talk honestly about Lamar Jackson? Well, we're certainly going to do it today. Stay tuned. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me. It is finally here. We are all the way into football season. The National Football League kicked off last night, a game that went down to the wire, a game that many people think the Baltimore Ravens lost by a toe, lost by an inch. I don't think that's what happened. Lamar Jackson at the end of the game, the final play of the game, hit Isaiah Lively in the back of the end zone for what seemed like the game-tying touchdown. And, the touchdown that would have pulled them within 1 point. And John Harbaugh was going for 2 points. He was signaling he was going for 2 points. They were going to try to win that game on the final play of the game. And then they went to the replay booth. And Lively had a toe out of bounds, and it was clear as day. And Lamar Jackson's in some denial about that after the game. He feels like the ref shouldn't have overturned the call. I don't blame him for being in denial about that. He'd rather have people talking about the toe and the inch and Lively and just how close they came to winning that game. But if you actually watch the game, wasn't that close. Chiefs dominated that entire game. And some of it falls on the Baltimore Ravens. They opened the game with a 13-play, nearly 7-minute drive. Derrick Henry, their new acquisition, the great running back, Derrick the Great, runs the ball 5 of those 13 plays. And again, he only had 17, 18 yards, but he had a 5-yard touchdown. And they were playing a style of football that I think would have worked for the rest of that game, but they kind of got away from that. And they probably kind of got away from that because everybody's into this narrative that Lamar Jackson is going to take the next step up as a passer. And he's going to be this finished product that's elite running and elite passing. It ain't going to happen. Lamar Jackson is a quarterback who is terrific. He plays at a Pro Bowl level. He plays at an MVP level a lot of times. But in the highest level games, when he's facing the highest level competition at the other quarterback position and an elite or a sound defense, his inability to be accurate from the pocket on a consistent basis is going to cost the Baltimore Ravens, and it has. And we've gone through this process now. Is Lamar like in his 7th year, maybe? 7th, 8th year? And we've had to, he's going to develop as a passer. Next year, he's going to be this better passer. They're changing up the offensive coordinator. The whole run-first Baltimore Ravens thing, it's over. They're turning it over to Lamar Jackson, and he's going to be this elite passer. I'm not trying to beat up on Lamar Jackson, but he's never going to be an elite passer. And that's what last night's game should have proven and shown. There's an elite passer on the other team, the 2-time defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was great last night, even with an interception. But these new speedy receivers that the Chiefs have, the Worthy kid showed up big on his first reception. He can stretch the field. He showed up big. Rashee Rice, I can't believe he actually is playing, and we'll talk with Steve Kim and Butter about that here in a second, but he was good. Maybe Travis Kelce's taken a step back, but it doesn't matter. We saw last year, Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter his supporting cast. He's going to make lemonade out of lemons, no matter who's out there at wide receiver. Now that he actually has receivers that can stretch the field and look like playmakers, I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to continue to get better and better, and I thought they looked really good last night. Baltimore is what it is. Lamar Jackson ran for 120-some-odd yards last night, was a terrific running quarterback again last night. He's an average passer, and very average passer who's nowhere near elite when it comes to throwing the ball downfield. He missed some key passes downfield. He completed a lot of easier routes, but this whole myth, this whole argument that he's going to get better and better as a passer, no, he's not. He's not built for that. That's not who he is. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's probably not even C.J. Stroud. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not any of these guys as a passer. He's not Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. He's a very athletic quarterback who does a decent job as a passer. But winning tough playoff games against the elite best teams, it's always going to be a struggle. And to see Ryan Clark go down that path and make the Russell Westbrook analogy, I was like, wow, good for you, Ryan. And maybe that's where we're moving towards in the media, that maybe this whole being slaves to social media and Twitter, maybe that's over. And some of these athletes, and particularly a defensive back, Ryan Clark knows exactly what he's looking at. He knows exactly the kind of conversations that would be had and are being had in those secondary coaching rooms around the league. He knows how people talk about Lamar Jackson. And now he's talking about it on TV. I like the Russell Westbrook analogy. I don't like it as much. And again, I didn't even think about these analogies until I heard Ryan Clark, and so I got to credit him. But as I think through, the analogy I'm going to make is Lamar Jackson's Angel Reese. Lamar Jackson is Angel Reese. Angel Reese is an elite rebounder. Special rebounder. Her offensive skills are never going to approach good. Never. It will never happen. All of you people, just give her time. She's going to develop. She's just a rookie, and next year she'll spend this offseason working on her shot. She's been working on her shot since she was like 10 years old. It ain't going to get better. She shoots it from her shoulder. She's basically blind. And so she's guessing when she throws the ball up. It'll never get better. Same thing. Lamar Jackson, elite runner. Never going to be an excellent passer. He's already a good passer. Never going to be an excellent passer. Certainly will never be an elite passer. And that will always bite the Baltimore Ravens in the rear end. They're going to have to get lucky. Patrick Mahomes or somebody, they're going to face Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs or Josh Allen in the playoffs, and Mahomes may get twisted ankle in the first half and won't have to face him, or Josh Allen may make some incredibly stupid play, or Aaron Rodgers. Or what. Baltimore's going to have to get lucky. The other team is going to have to back off in order for Baltimore to win and advance to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. They're never going to beat one of these elite teams when both teams play well. Won't happen because of the difference in the disparity in the quarterback position. Lamar Jackson is Angel Reese. Let's bring our main man, Steve Kim, into this conversation. My boy Butter is here. Your boy Butter is here in studio. Steve, season opener for the National Football League last night. Ryan Clark compares compares Lamar Jackson to Russell Westbrook. I'm comparing him to Angel Reese. Who's right? Who's wrong? Your thoughts on last night's game?
Well, I'm stunned that Ryan Clark didn't blame a white guy for all this. Maybe he'll be throwing Harbaugh under the bus by October. There's so many thoughts about this game. And I'll be honest with you, Jason, I wasn't blown away by either quarterback. Mahomes was better than Lamar, but I actually see a little bit of regression in what Kansas City does. And again, I get it. It's first week
You're
of the
going
season.
full Coach JB right out the gate. Week 1, you're going full JB?
And I think he's still the elite quarterback, but I just don't see enough times where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ball out. Everything is helter-skelter. Everything's a scramble drill. He missed Samaje Perine on a swing route that should have put the game away. That's a miss. If Lamar Jackson makes that pass, it's headline news. We've got to be fair about this. A lot of those plays, even the play to Xavier Worthy, was a busted coverage. It's alarming to me that Kansas City, for as good as they are, and they're still the favorite here, they don't stretch the field anymore, Jason. They really don't, and they don't seem to throw on time in rhythm. Watch that game again. Everything is like, okay, Patrick, scramble around, do a little something, break a lot of rules, and he's very accurate still. But I don't see it being classical quarterback play. Now, as for Lamar Jackson, this is what we're here to talk about. When you throw 41 times and you do not get the 300 yards, Jason, that is inefficiency. What that tells you, without even looking at the game, and I watched every play, you are dinking and dunking. You are not probably throwing on time, in rhythm, within structure, and you're probably not very accurate, because that also means you're missing on throws. And even the play to Likely, again, that was a scramble drill. The other thing that was really alarming, Jason, Derrick Henry's supposed to be the new running game, right? Future Hall of Famer. Lamar Jackson had more carries than Derrick Henry. I thought in that game, Lamar Jackson took a lot of hits, a lot of unnecessary hits you do not want your quarterback to take. And I'm thinking, can he take 17 games of that? Okay, and the other thing that's interesting, Jason, and I talked about this on Coach JB's show, and I noticed it a couple of months ago. When you look at Derrick Henry, he is generally what I would call a downhill, under the center tailback. And if you watch most of his big plays as a Tennessee Titan, you look at the highlight reels that people have put together, I would say 2/3 or maybe even up to 3/4 of his really big plays are with Ryan Tannehill directly under center, not shotgun, handing the ball off, downhill ISO runs. All this stuff they do under shotgun where you're making him kind of do a jump cut at the mesh point and he's got to go east-west. Justice Hill is probably a better down-to-down fit at running back than Derrick Henry. You have a square peg to a round hole there. There's some real systematic and structural issues with that Ravens offense as we speak right now.
I think the structural issues as it relates to the running game and to some degree the passing game is the offensive line. I thought their offensive guards were overwhelmed last night. I thought Chris Jones had his way with anybody on that offensive line that tried to block him. Tarico talked early in the game about they had to replace three starters, and there is a difference. And then I also thought, I mean, just clear as day, the referees had them a bit out of sorts with the calling of the illegal formation and trying to make that point of emphasis early. And so I think the offensive line struggled. I'm not ready. We were talking this morning, the group, preparing for the show, and someone said, hey, man, I think Derrick Henry's washed up. He was washed up last year. And I was like, hey, man, the guy had 1,100 yards last year and 12 touchdowns. And Tennessee, to me, wasn't that good. And he was still able to be that productive. I really like Derrick Henry, still think he has enough in the tank to be effective. I thought he'd be more effective last night. But they started out the game, 13-play drive, right down the field, using and then they got away from that. And I think a lot of that is this false belief that, hey, Lamar's a guy we can put the whole game on his shoulders. And I don't think Lamar Jackson is a guy that can put the whole game on his shoulders. I agree with you that they're bragging about he's lost weight. I actually think that's going to bite him in the butt about 10 games in. I think he's too light in the pants to take the beating. If he's going to carry the ball 16 times a game or anywhere near that, 10 times a game, I think he's too light in the butt to deal with that over a 17-game schedule.
Jason, if you really look at the quarterbacks that have been healthy and have been durable, they have found out one thing. There's actually safety in the pocket. To be in the belly of the beast, if you can operate and understand your protections, where the pressure is coming from, and when to get rid of the ball, which generally means quicker, you could keep yourself pretty clean. I saw one play where Lamar Jackson actually lowered his shoulder going out of bounds, and I was like, Lamar, just get out of bounds. Okay, you're not Derrick Henry. And going back to Derrick Henry really quick, Jason, I still saw some life in those legs, but here's the conundrum you face with an older running back and with the identity of that offense. The way I have always perceived Henry is that he's one of these big, strong running backs that gets better as the game goes on and he wears people out. So, Jason, don't you think he needs closer to 23 carries than just 13 if you want to effectively maximize his ability? So that means you actually have to kind of say, you know what? Maybe we have to change our philosophy for a certain part of the game. Maybe go more underneath center, which they did a little bit yesterday, and just say, you know what? Be content with 2nd and 6, because they're putting a lot of pressure on Lamar. And by the way, you mentioned Chris Jones. I'm going to go at it today. I thought he played one of the worst drives I've ever seen from a great defensive player that last drive. I thought it was some of the most selfish football play I've ever seen. I thought he was great for 3 quarters inside as a 3-tech. That's what he is. When you start using him at defensive end, if you watch that drive, Jason, and I was texting with Eric Weddle, name drop, and Jason Brown, they both agreed with me. Chris Jones, that last drive, kept losing contained because he's not a defensive end, and he kept going inside or over rushing. And every single time, this is when Lamar had some success. He was able to leak out of the pocket as a right-handed quarterback. When you're able to run that way, well, he opened up a lot of lanes. Chris Jones needs to be stuck inside. And I don't know if that's a Spagnuolo issue or a guy trying to do his own thing. But Chris Jones is trying to win the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. That is fine. But you still have to be a team player. He was awful that last drive.
I'm going to disagree with you because it is a Spagnuolo deal. They were playing 3 defensive linemen, and they don't want to play. They don't want to play him over the center, I don't think, because in their view, it makes him easier to double team. And so if you're only going to play 3 defensive linemen, he's either got to play over the center or he's got to play over an offensive tackle.
Jason,
and so that's what
did.
they did.
Jason, when you're that bad, when you allow that much containment to leak the way he did, he kept over rushing the landmark. They will teach you, take 3 steps, and if you don't get there, you have to kind of stay and build a wall. What does Lamar Jackson not do well? Throw on time in the pocket. When does he become dangerous? When he leaks out. And when that happens multiple times in a drive, if that guy's name was not Chris Jones, Spagnuolo would say, come here, sit right down there. Either you have standards or you don't. Watch that drive again, Jason. It's actually embarrassing how bad he was that last drive.
I will watch it, but this is on Spagnuolo, not on Chris Jones. This is, trust me, it's what they practiced all week. This is how they said they were going. Yeah, this is what. And so what Chris Jones is relying on is that they have two linebackers or a linebacker and a safety that are spying Lamar Jackson. And so he probably feels he has a bit more freedom if Lamar breaks contain because they have people assigned that can really run and keep up with Lamar Jackson assigned. So I will go relook at it because it's a provocative thought. But I do think it's on Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, more so than it is on Chris Jones.
Okay, I'm just telling you, the toughest pressure for a quarterback to deal with, and I get it, it's a three-man rush. I've heard a lot of quarterbacks say this. You could step up against outside pressure. It's very difficult to step up with pressure right in your face. And here's the thing, as great as Chris Jones is, and he's a future Hall of Famer, there's no doubt about it. He's an elite player. But when you keep making the same mistake over and over again on a pivotal drive, it's not a great look. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that really applies to Lamar Jackson as it relates to missing Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, and just he had some opportunities and he just missed. Bad throws late. And Steve, because again, Lamar to me is the most fascinating thing out of everything last night. He's never going to be the passer that they want him to be. And they have an identity crisis, Steve. That's a physical, run-first football team. And they just need to stick with that. They should have never got – why am I not thinking of the name of the offensive coordinator that they dusted that helped Colin Kaepernick?
Greg Roman. Greg Roman. Jim Harbaugh now.
Yeah, Greg Roman. Yeah. They should have never gotten rid of the guy. That's who Lamar is. He's that guy. That's who the Baltimore Ravens are. And so coming into a game that was never out of reach, and Lamar Jackson throws it 41 times, and you'd have to think a few of his runs were scrambles when they were trying to throw. You go out and get Derrick Henry, you got Lamar Jackson, it is what it is. He's gonna, if he ran the ball 16 times, just commit to that identity. Drain the clock, run Derrick Henry, that's who you are.
Well, Jason, I have a radical idea. By your premise, if the die is cast with Lamar Jackson, he is who he is, he will never be a surgeon like a Drew Brees or a Joe Burrow or a Joe Montana. Okay. I tweeted about this and people thought I was nuts. I'm going to stick with this. Why don't you just go full-blown no huddle, shotgun, up-tempo, and just let Lamar, you are who you are. Run around, scramble, make stuff happen. At the end of the day, you have to tailor your system and play calling and your philosophy to the quarterback, right? Well, I mean, it seemed to work out well at Louisville, and I get it, it's college football, but if he's never going to be that classical on-time quarterback, and his most dangerous weapon is extending plays and running around, you know what? Just say, forget it. We're not huddling, no huddle, up-tempo. We're going to go full-blown Bobby Petrino Louisville offense 2016. That would be fun and fascinating to watch.
I'm going to move the topic to the National Anthem controversy and Brittany Mahomes, a little bit of controversy. But before I do that, I want you and Butter to weigh in on who's got the better basketball analogy, me or Ryan Clark. Is comparing Lamar Jackson to Angel Reese or Russell Westbrook more accurate, Steve?
I'm going to have to do something I rarely do. That's agree with Ryan Clark, because Angel Reese will never be a two-time MVP. I keep it, as the kids say, a buck. Angel Reese is a specialty player. I mean, the Ryan Clark analogy is
Lamar.
Well, Lamar's won 2 MVPs and is a legitimate Pro Bowl All-Pro guy. Look, say what you want. He's not a complete quarterback, but he's a very accomplished player. Angel Reese to this moment is a bricklayer. That's it. She's a one-dimensional specialty role player. Lamar at least is the nucleus to something. Now, the analogy of, hey, Damian Lillard to Russell Westbrook, yeah, because those are two all-star level guys who have made a lot of all-NBA teams, who have a real resume, and one guy may be a little bit more complete than the other. I kind of like that one. Look, we can be critical of Lamar, but to compare her to the Bayou bricklayer, that's a low blow worthy of Angel Galata, Whitlock. I will not allow it. No, that's a penalty for you. 1
better
point
analogy.
off.
Me or Ryan Clark?
You've got what they call the WNBA derangement syndrome. On the opening night of the NFL, you decide to bring the WNBA into this by comparing it to Angel Reese. You're completely off base.
Ryan Clark compared it to the NBA. At least the WNBA is going on right now.
I hear you, but I think his comparison to Russell is different. Yours was personally motivated. I think he was making more of an analogy.
I completely disagree with both of you. Hey, you all hop in the audience, hop in the comments, and some of y'all side with me, but I would who's got the better analogy here, Ryan Clark or me? I'll tell you this. If Angel Reese and Russell Westbrook both played quarterback in a flag football game, throwing the ball, Angel Reese would look more like Lamar Jackson than Russell Westbrook. She's the low, awkward release. I'm 100%. All right, Steve, I got a topic here that actually plays into Butter's hands as well. Did you know that Butter in the late 2000s, early 2010s, sang the Negro National Anthem at the Kansas City Chiefs home opener? Put up the picture of Butter and Scott Pioli, the Chiefs general manager. This is a true story. They brought Butter in to lift every voice and sing the Negro National Anthem. Butter, how'd you do?
We did good. It was a new song to us at the time, so I had to read the lyrics. Jason, you're setting me up here, buddy. I wasn't ready for the Negro National Anthem. That is me singing.
Hold on. Say, what national anthem did you just say? Let's get Butter on tape saying Negro so I can hold this over his head the rest of his life.
The Negro National Anthem, I think, is the correct way. I hope I'm not out of bounds here.
No, you're good. You're good. But no, on a real note, Butter sang the national anthem at the Kansas City Chiefs home opener at some point when Scott Pioli was the general manager. But anyway, Steve, a lot of people upset about Tasha Cobbs, who's on my wall back here, singing the Lift Every Voice and Sing before the national anthem. I try to tune into these games right at kickoff, so I hear none of the pregame BS. And this game was delayed by weather, and so when I tuned in, they were singing the Negro National Anthem. They were introducing Tasha Cobbs, and I just went, oh boy, here we go. What are we doing here? And then they circle back 10, 12 minutes later and do the actual national anthem. And I'm like, these teams now have to stand for two different national anthems. What are we doing here? It's ridiculous. The NFL and its pandering just pisses me off.
Jason, I thought they stopped doing that once the players stopped pretending to care about the people they moved away from. They're not taking knees anymore. There's no more gestures, right? And no, seriously, they're not even threatening to not practice. So here's the thing that I did. So I'm watching the game, and what I do, Jason, I have my laptop in front of me, the TV's on, and at that point in time, so the game was a little bit delayed, so it's right around 5:30. I had begun to watch, I think the show was over, but I punched it up on YouTube. Josh Pate now does a live college football show a couple times a week. Shout out to him. He does a great job, Pate State University. And so what I would do is during the commercials, where I left off during the show, I would just play it. So instead of listening to commercials, I'm just listening to Josh Pate for a few minutes. Game comes back on. I go back to the NBC broadcast. So when I saw that they said, hey, here comes the Black National Anthem, I said, well, here comes the mute button. I think I've said this from the beginning, going all the way back to Colin Kaepernick and his virtue signaling. The media, all they had to do was really ignore it. if a single word was never said, no one makes a big deal. People go on. He gets to make his little political gesture. He gets to think like he's really making a difference. We get to enjoy our ball game. So, Jason, it didn't really bother me. It just gave me another 10, 15 minutes to listen to Pate State, and great preview of week 2 in college football.
It's a struggle. They did that Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is a great song. And Tasha Cobb is one of my favorite singers. But I don't want to hear it before a football game. I don't want to hear pretend like there's 2 different national anthems and we got to do this pandering to black people. And I promise you, I'm not lying. And this is my WNBA derangement. I thought, and I went to ESPN to check. I was like, I know Caitlin Clark's not playing tonight, but I wonder if the Chicago Sky are playing and I can hate watch Angel Reese. And so I went and checked, and they had the night off. If Angel Reese had been playing, I'd have been like, I'll just check in on the NFL game from time to time. I'm going to watch Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky.
You're sick.
It crossed my mind. It bothers me that much. But on a real, you've done national anthems. I mean, obviously did the Chiefs home opener. What is that experience like?
It's awesome. A lot of times for us, it was pre-recorded. Sometimes we sang it live. I was in a trio when that picture, and the girl singer in trailer choir, she was the main vocalist. So I did some backup. But I do have a great story about that particular night. We sang the national anthem at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it was the home opener, but it was against the Steelers. But standing there with Scott Pioli, the GM at the time. After we got done singing the national anthem, we stood on the KC sidelines for, we get to stand there for a series or 2. But Kansas City was receiving the opening kickoff, so we go from singing the national anthem on the field to the sidelines. Steelers kicked the ball off, opening kickoff, back when they had real kickoffs. And Kansas City took it to the house. They ran right by us on the sidelines, and the mayhem and the energy. I've spent my whole life in front of large crowds performing, and there's a certain energy that comes along with that. There was nothing that compared to being in that stadium and on the sidelines watching the opening kickoff go back to the house. It was awesome.
That picture reminds me of how much I despise Scott Pioli, and I used to call him Scott Egoli. The guy tried to bully the media in Kansas City when he first got there. And I was like, Negro, you don't know who you messing with. And I mean, literally, we're at Garozzo's, famous Italian restaurant, and he's having a little private meeting with 8 to 10 of the sports writers and people of the print publication guy. And he gets up, he starts yelling and screaming and trying to bully. And I was like, what the? And this was back when I was far more secular. I was like, what the F are you doing? Who do you think you're talking to? It's a group of grown men in here. And it set us at odds for the next few years. And I started calling him Scotty Goalie and exposed this guy, and he was a fraud. All the media, all the fans hated me because Scott Pioli came there and he was going to be from New England and the Patriots, and they all thought I was wrong and it was personal. It wasn't. I was like, this guy has no control over his ego. Everything. Anyway, I won't go on and on and on about it. What do we think, Steve? No Brittany Mahomes last night. We got a lot of Taylor Swift, but Brittany Mahomes got no camera time last night, no discussion. Do we blame this on NBC and their hatred of Trump, or is it because Taylor Swift has stiff-armed Brittany Mahomes now that she is kind of out of the closet as a MAGA person?
I wonder if NBC is afraid that old Brit is wearing a red cap. And I don't mean the one with the Kansas City logo on it. It was funny because last year, during the games, when they cut away about, 50 times, every time they ran a hook route to Travis Kelce for 8 yards, those two would be besties. Now they're frenemies. I mean, just think about it. Last year, they were hugged up on each other. They're swag surfing. You're like, oh, God, this is nauseating. Now Brittany Mahomes is almost like written out of history like she was a political enemy of Stalin. Like, think about it. The rest of the year, think about it. Mahomes is still the starting quarterback, still probably the face of the league, the best quarterback, and all of a sudden she's just going to disappear? So you're telling me all the way till early November, her presence will not be shown at all after she was so ubiquitous in 2023. Interesting.
I find it very interesting. And, it's like, I feel like, and again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's just being real. I was like, no one over social media is talking about this. This is probably sometime in the third quarter. I just tweeted out, like, is NBC really not going to acknowledge Brittany Mahomes? And because anybody interesting, and she's been in the news cycle, I can't believe they're not going to show her at some point and have a little conversation. But I'm sure Tirico and Chris Collinsworth wanted no parts of having to comment on why she's been in the news cycle. But, it's Patrick Mahomes' wife. And they made her a part of the story last year in her friendship with Taylor Swift. It's something interesting to talk about now that she's my favorite NFL wife. Now that she's on Team MAGA, I'm like, I want to know more about her than I do Taylor Swift. But I got nothing. I got nothing.
I got a pretty interesting point here that might help shed some light on how this is going behind the scenes. Last night, with Patrick Mahomes, he targeted himself almost as many times as he targeted Travis Kelce in that game. He threw to himself once and Travis Kelce 4 times. So you can tell maybe there's a little beef,
Hold on, that's interesting. You're joking, but that is interesting, Steve. Travis Kelce, and I meant to get to this, but do you think he's in decline?
Yes.
Or do you think he just had an off night?
Well, it could be a little bit of both. Look, Kelce last year throughout the regular season was not that guy he had been. And he's already got his gold jacket waiting for him, okay? But I thought last year that athletically there was a bit of an erosion, but he was excellent in the playoffs. And if you look at the identity now of the Kansas City offense, it seems to me they want to be a little bit more perimeter-based when Hollywood Brown gets back and Xavier Worthy and Rashi Speed Racer Rice looks like he's going to play a bigger role. They could be transitioning away slowly but surely away from Kelce as the number one option in the throw game.
I'm not, man. There's another possibility here because, Kelce doesn't have a history of injuries throughout his career, as far as I know. And I don't think, what is he, 34, 35 years old?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
It is, but I want to compare it to Tony Gonzalez, who was still making Pro Bowls real late in his career. Let me, here we go. I got some Tony Gonzalez, 6-time first team All-Pro for Pro Bowls. Let's see here. He made Pro Bowls all the way up to 2013 when his career ended. And so, 2013, Tony is born in 1976. That's 11. Yeah, he's 37 at that time. And he's still making Pro Bowl. I'm wondering if all of the extracurricular activities, all the pressure, the burden of being Taylor Swift's boyfriend, if that couldn't be drawing energy and focus away from football. And that's, why couldn't it be that, Steve?
I mean, it could be. Look, they flashed his stats from last year, okay? And he still had over 900
when he started
yards,
dating.
I believe. Yeah, okay,
when
but
he started dating.
He still had 900
34.
yards last year. So it's not like he fell off the face of the earth. But there used to be a time when he got the ball, he basically turned into a big, strong wide receiver with his ability to make people miss, get extra yards. I really don't see that anymore. And it's only natural to have an erosion of athleticism right around your mid-30s, especially at that position. Look, he's still very, very, very good. But this is just one game. And remember, these guys don't play throughout the preseason for the most part. let's see where this is in terms of the number of targets going into November.
Now you got me looking at Antonio Gates, and his career wrapped up in 2018, 6 years ago. He was 38 years old at the end of his career. His play, he started dipping in 2016, 2015. And Antonio Gates looks like this is more longevity than, because he only had 2 1,000-yard receiving years, but he had a 12 TD year. Anyway, I think there could be something to he's better off the field and pitching the vaccine and all the other beta male crap than he is on the field, and that could be the burden of taking on the Taylor Swift deal, and allegedly, according to leaked documents, that relationship's going to wrap up here shortly.
Oh, they don't have an option year? I mean, they're not going to renegotiate to extend that deal? Okay, good. Jeez. Sick of seeing that.
All right. Hold for 1 second, Steve. I want to take care of a little business, talk to you guys about this great event that Allie Beth Stuckey's got going on that may be an opportunity for the woman in your life. Allie Beth, you guys know her from Relatable, and she's a great podcaster, the voice of conservative women, believers, evangelical women. She's got an awesome podcast, and she's got basically her version of Roll Call for women. It's called Share the Arrows. It's on September 28th in Dallas. It's a day dedicated to equipping women with the clarity and courage to navigate today's world with conviction and grace. It's a chance to come together with fellow women who are ready to stand firm in truth and fellowship. Obviously, it's led by Allie Beth Stuckey. She's got incredible guest speakers, Rosario Butterfield, Elisa Childers, Abby Halberstadt, people that your wife, girlfriend, your mother, your sister would know and appreciate. It's an awesome event, guys. Think about sending your woman to the Share the Arrows event. It's going to help God-fearing women in their life experience powerful teaching, encouraging fellowship, inspiring worship. It's an amazing event. Go to sharethearrows.com today and select from the following packages: general admission, the breakfast package, the VIP package, the premium all access package. That's sharethearrows.com. Go there today. Steve, I want to transition into Angel Reese. She has started and released a podcast, Unapologetically Angel. Is there a way to be apologetic, Angel, or this whole unapologetically about? Anyway, Angel Reese, the big superstar rebounder in the WNBA, launches her podcast by taking an immediate shot, in my view, at Caitlin Clark and her fans. Let's play the clip of Angel Reese here, SOT number 4, taking a pot shot at Caitlin Clark fans.
So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans that are like, they ride for her. And I respect that respectfully, but sometimes it's very disrespectful. I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that. But when you come, when it's behind your name, that's when a lot of people are like, oh, they think, oh, I don't like her because her fans are saying this. No, I don't believe in her heart that she has hatred towards me. And I'm sure she believes that I don't have hatred towards her. But I think her fan base has gone, I'm talking about like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Like,
we see it all the time.
I know y'all see it. Like, I literally saw something today that was like, it's crazy. And it goes down to knowing, like, again, we are humans. Like, basketball is literally a game. Like, I promise you, it's literally a game. We have so much fun with it. But when it comes to death threats, when it comes to people finding, like, I'm talking about people have come down to my address, following me home. Like, it's come down to that. And like when I talked about earlier on after the season, and when I was in my press conference and I was talking about being sexualized, like I guess people thought that was like because I post pictures in my bathing suits. No, like multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me like naked. Literally.
Really?
They have sent it to my family members. My family members are like, uncles are sending it to me like,
no.
Are you naked on Instagram?
How do you unpack Caitlin Clark fans are the reason people are making naked AI pictures of me? How do you get there? What does that have to do with Caitlin Clark? She puts herself out there, even on this podcast, stomach out, breasts barely hidden, legs front and center everywhere. She has sexualized herself. And now, I'm shocked. People are sexualizing me. And somehow she's connecting it to being a Caitlin Clark fan. I just don't see the connection. It's like everything bad that happens to me is somehow connected to Caitlin Clark. That's stupid. It's dishonest. She's just clout chasing. She's using Caitlin Clark. And then she goes, I don't think Caitlin Clark has hatred towards me. What has Caitlin Clark done to you? Nothing. Well, I don't even understand what would motivate that comment. Caitlin Clark hasn't done anything. She goes out and plays basketball. I've never seen her trash talk. I've never seen her taunt Angel Reese. There's nothing there. But she's pretending like there is something there. There's one person who is driving all this, and it's Angel Reese. Rather, Caitlin Clark has nothing to do with it. Blaming her fans for people following you home or, these alleged death threats. This Caitlin Clark has nothing to do with that. You've made yourself a target. It's no different, Steve, than me saying, man, look at these negative comments I get on Twitter. It's Deion Sanders fans. No, it's not Deion Sanders fans. It's Jason Whitlock critics. I have bold and provocative opinions, and so people get bold and talk smack on me. It's what I've chosen. It's the life I've chosen. And so for her, it's not Deion Sanders' fault. It's not Stephen A. Smith's fault. It's none of these. It's my fault. And I'm willing to deal with it. And, I know she's just 22, but she's just dragging Caitlin Clark. This, to me, is the worst thing she's done to Caitlin Clark. And it's bad. Your thoughts?
People say rebounding is Angel Reese's greatest skill. No, it's not. It's victimhood. And as you mentioned, Jason, nobody has sexualized Angel Reese quite like Angel Reese. And so let's take her at face value for what she said about her family members. You're telling me your family members, if they really cared about you, wouldn't have told you 9 months ago, like, Angel, put on some damn clothes. She literally does a runway walk based on what she's wearing before every game. What did you think was going to happen? The other thing is, if there are death threats and threats of violence, I have a hard time believing that this would not have been reported and blown up into a story. I wonder, are there police reports? Is there a logging of this? Or again, is this her version of the graffiti on LeBron James's property? Remember that? I mean, much was made out of it, but one thing we never saw? Evidence. Evidence matters, because if there is evidence, let's root this out. And I really wonder, this is a team and an individual player that is now slumping. Could you imagine if Caitlin Clark did this while her team's on a 7-game losing streak, starting a podcast? Just think about that.
Started a podcast and immediately started out whining and making themselves a victim. It's Butter, I want your thoughts on this from the perspective of you run in circles with country music stars. You at one point were a country music star. There are things that go along with stardom that are unpleasant. Yeah, you get a lot of attention, you get good seats at restaurants, hopefully you make some money, but there are also just lunatic fans when you're in the spotlight, and it's like, hey, they want the attention in the WNBA, but they don't want the bad stuff that comes along with it, because trust me, NBA players get stalked, get harassed, and I never saw, Isaiah Thomas never got someone, man, these Michael Jordan fans are the reason why people don't like me. It doesn't, these ladies got to grow up. They want the attention. There are things that go along with the attention that are unpleasant.
Well, I think you said Isaiah Thomas, and that refers back to a pre-social media time period. And I think that a lot of what I've seen and so many artists that I talk to, the social media is a whole nother obligation and a whole nother business onto just being a performer. Much like Angel is a performer on the basketball court, there is an onus and a responsibility that these athletes or entertainers have to their brands. Now, I will say that Baker Mayfield didn't have to come out and start doing progressive commercials, right? She doesn't have to do a podcast. And when you get into podcasts and long form talking, you're going to tend to say and do things. I do think there is a responsibility on the 2024 athlete or entertainer with social media that makes it very difficult, and being young, knowing where and when to maybe speak out. With some more experience and a little more time, maybe she wouldn't take some of those lanes. But I do think that there's a real responsibility that athletes and entertainers have to navigate the responsibility of social media and what comes along with it. And she's still very young.
Young and constantly looking for attention. Steve, you got a final thought on this?
Yeah, the most unsurprising thing I'm going to say on this segment is that Jason and Butters, guess what? I have not subscribed to that podcast. There. Probably won't either.
It's actually worth paying attention because she's going to say a lot of silly things. I want to play this one other clip from her where she talks about COVID and being boosted and can't wait for the next booster and all this. And I was like, oh, okay, this is why I don't like Angel Reese. Let's play that clip.
And COVID is real.
COVID is back and real. It's not a joke.
So what's going on with this COVID scare that your team just had?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know.
Some people are sick, or they just thought they were sick.
If you feel sick, obviously you can test on your own. But due to like the CDC and the WNBA, they've agreed like if you even have COVID, you can play.
Oh, you can play?
Yeah, you can play. You can play. As long as you're not having symptoms where you're like hacking all over the court. Like, yeah. But you can play. But I'll be masked up. I don't play that.
Are you vaccinated?
I am. And
okay,
boosted.
Good. Oh, and boosted.
And boosted.
Period.
And I'm waiting for the next one to come out.
Oh, God.
Vaccinated, boosted, and can't wait for the next one to come out. This is a 22-year-old woman in the prime of her life. She's in great athletic shape. This is why yeah.
No one in the last 6 months has even really uttered, hey, COVID is back, it's real, it's a threat. Here's the other thing. You know one thing I've not seen from Angel Reese? I've seen a lot of her legs and her bare midriff. I've never seen her in a mask. If it's that real, if it's that much of a threat, okay. Really? She actually still wears a mask?
Yeah. Recently, yeah. I saw her at a press conference. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Does she do one when she's driving alone in her car? This is ridiculous. Now we're getting to the point where now she's advocating this fear pornography. See, now it's like I didn't take her seriously before. Now I really don't take her seriously at all.
Yeah, she needs some help, and she's not going to get it because people are going to pander to her and tell her what she wants to hear. No one wants to tell a woman the truth, and particularly one that's anywhere near above a 5 on the attractiveness scale because everybody wants to keep their options open. But good luck with it, Angel Reese. Steve, I want to get your thoughts on this. We end on I would call it a lighter note, but I don't know if it is a lighter note. My man, Matt McChesney, man.
Ooh, he's
off.
Pissed off at you.
The former Colorado Buffalo, been on the show. I've been on his show. You know, he's swallowed all the Deion Kool-Aid, and now he is mad with me. Let's play the clip.
I'm tired of this pep. I didn't know we were going to talk about him on the show today, but I'm already in a mood, and look, dog, I did a show with this guy to be professional, and it didn't work. This guy, he is the epitome of just like curdled milk, dog. He just sits there and stinks. Yeah. And he's got all these fucked up opinions, and he's supposed to be super religious, yet he judges everybody. And I'm a godless heathen atheist, so I don't give a which side of the fence you're on. When you're dead, you're dead. All right. Have fun being the dirt. So I don't really care about that part of it other than he preaches and then he talks shit at the same time. Cognitive decline. What the fuck is this fat piece of shit talking about? I mean, look, if you're a hater of Deion, which God knows JB is one, he hates everything Colorado. If you say anything Colorado, JB's going after it. So I have no doubt that he played this clip. Of course he wants this. He probably giggled about it and shit. I don't think it's funny. I think it's ridiculous. I got Coach Prime and CU's back. Jason Whitlock in the face. I think that this is stupid, and I don't want that fat piece of shit on my show again. Look, I'm all about that, but Jason Whitlock doesn't hate. That is some conspiracy theory bullshit. Coach Prime is in cognitive decline. Come on, dog. The only person that sounds like Kamala Harris is you over there choking on Whitlock. Let's be real, dog. We want to start comparing politics. All right. Coach Prime could run for president and win. You'd run for president in Mexico, maybe. I mean, come on, dog. They're not. Let's be real. What we're talking about here. If we give this piece of shit a platform like we just did, then we get to talk about him. I don't ever want to give him a platform again. After doing his show and listening to him and understanding how full of shit he really is, and then all of his little cronies that feed off of him and like play this game, I think it's played out. I think it's stupid, and all of his little cronies can come at me too, and that may include people I know. I don't give a f if you don't like what I'm saying. Come at me, dog.
Steve are you one of my little cronies? Is he talking about you?
Maybe.
Are you?
Couple things. I've always thought you were like non-pasteurized milk. Never thought you were like curdled milk. And by the way, I think the days of us having Mad Matt McChesney on Fearless are probably over. But I want to clear something up here. Context matters. And I don't think Matt or little Bailey there really were fair here. You did not say Deion was in cognitive decline. What you said was the decline of Joe Biden was hidden until the debate, and then everyone came out and admitted it and said, oh my God, there's cognitive decline. Right, we only noticed it for about, 4 years. And what you referred to was if and when Colorado starts losing games in a row and it falls apart, all of a sudden people are going to get religion and say, hey, the way Deion runs a program, that's not good. That's all you said. So let's look. Matt can be mad at you. Hopefully he's not mad at me because he's a lot bigger than I am. Okay, I know my limits. But you never said Coach Prime was in cognitive decline. All you really said was that you think he can't coach or lead a football program. Big difference.
Well, I will say that I did yesterday say, or 2 days ago, that, Deion needs a thesaurus and someone needs to read it to him.
Right there. right there. See, now you're being curdled milk.
That, but
see, now you're being curdled milk. Right there. There you lose me.
But I couldn't imagine getting this upset because someone said something about another man. I said something about Deion Sanders. We don't talk about Matt McChesney on this show.
Welcome to being a boxing reporter. I've only gone through it for about 15 years. You get called every name in the book if you don't wave the pom-poms and have the megaphone out for certain people. But here's the thing with Matt. Matt's brand and his channel and his page is Colorado Buffalo centric. And it would help him to have a good relationship with Coach Prime and the program and to have access. And I do recall that when you had him on last year, a lot of those other minions did not like the fact that he had the guts to come on there and interview with you. I just would have said, hey, look, you're Matt McChesney. You actually played. Okay, you have a skin in this game. You should tell those guys, I'm going to go to whatever show I want. If not, if you have a problem with it, come see me, which he has done. Now, it is his right to not like you, but hopefully still like me. But at the same time, he has to understand he's taking what you said out of context. Again, Matt, no disrespect to you. Just want to be on good terms with you, though.
Yeah, Matt, I would say, hey, let Deion wear the sunglasses indoors. Maybe that was your brand before Deion. Maybe it was your brand before Deion, but I don't want to say our age because I think Matt's quite a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
But at a certain age, you don't let other grown men set your style. You just lean into who you are. But, bro, I can't muster the energy to be mad at you. I'm out of breath. I've been talking now for nearly an hour, so I'm out of breath already. But anyway, thank you, Matt, for the content, and thank you, Steve. My sister wants to come on, Steve, and finish up the show. So thank you, Cosell. She's got some advice for me, and I think for Angel Reese. We'll bring Yo-Yo. She hates it when I call her Yo-Yo, but that's what we called her as a kid. Yolanda on next. Welcome back to Beef. As I walk you through my top 50 media beefs of all time. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity beefer. It's like, Randy, are you asleep at the wheel? Big lips are in style. I'd love to squash this beef. I mean, I was not real happy at all. I was less than thrilled. I was displeased. And now we have beef.
I wanted to highlight a clip I saw of what might be the dumbest criminal in American history. Look at this right here, please. Look at this right here. One of the biggest drug dealers in Hollis literally lived directly across the street from me. The trash bag burglar. That's what they're calling him. And he was a killer. And it was understood Steve is not to be touched. You got dealers in Hollis. Steve is not to be touched. I mean, it does seem quite dumb. Here's the only thing that I would say. How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on?
All right, welcome back. My sister, Yo-Yo, has some advice she wants to give to myself. And I think she's got some advice for Angel Reese as well. Welcome back to the show, or Yolanda. How you gonna? What advice? What did I do this time?
You know what? This is all I got to say. I've been waiting, right? Did a list just come out of the biggest names in American sports? And who's on that list that maybe you said something about?
The biggest names in sports, and I said something about them?
Well, you said something about somebody that should not have been called a GOAT. I think you even referenced the fact because she was only 4 feet something. Now who would that be? Because I see her on the list.
Simone Biles. Yeah, Simone Biles. That was my list that I came out with. That's my list. How you gonna complain about that?
Okay, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I appreciate you giving her flowers. Okay, thank you. Because that's my girl. I like her, and I think she's earned every bit of it. But you did say you had a problem with her being called the GOAT.
Yeah, she quit. She's a quitter. She quit in the 2021 Olympics or whatever year that was. Yeah, 2021, she quit, let the American team down. That's hard to be a GOAT when you quit, but she is one of the biggest stars in all of American sports. I do. And I'm very objective, Just because I criticize someone doesn't mean that I'm reluctant to give them their flowers. I make fun of Butter all the time. Butter's not much taller than Simone Biles. But Butter's about your height, yo.
I was going to say, look, great things come in small packages. Hey. For sure.
Yeah, I've actually told some women that.
Okay, moving right along. But
yeah, go ahead.
No, this is interesting. So I've been kind of following this Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese thing, and I just wanted to say something. As a branding expert and business strategist, one of the things is, and these are young girls, both of them very great players, right? Great in their own right. I feel like that sometimes we get caught up in
Hold for one second. Let me stop you there. One of them is a great basketball player. The other is a great rebounder. Go ahead, continue.
I said a great player in their own right. I said own right. I didn't say doing what.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, brand therapist.
But either way, I think here's the problem. Sometimes that you can get caught up in the media, get caught up in the comparisons and things like that, and things go crazy. As a branding specialist, one of the tips that I can give is that people need to run their own race and remember that your brand is other people's perceptions of you. That's important. It's not about what you think about yourself. It's what other people think about you. And so if you want to put a narrative out there and you want people to embrace you in a way that is positive, you've got to be very careful with your actions and your words. And this is for you too, Jason. You got to be super careful with your actions and your words, because then all of a sudden you can create a narrative that you feel like you don't want to align to, but it's the one that's assigned to you based on what you do. So words matter. What comes out of your mouth matters, and how you act matters, because if they are inconsistent, you start to create some brand confusion, and then people don't know what to think about you, and they start to run the narratives and create their own narratives about you. Now, in the case of Angel Reese, it's one of those things where I feel like she's in a defensive mode of trying to defend why Caitlin Clark is getting a lot of notoriety or press that maybe she doesn't feel like she's getting. She has to be very careful with that, because you can't minimize other people to maximize your own brand. And when you start talking in certain ways and giving yourself credit, it makes other people look like maybe they're not as valued, right? You got to be careful with that. And I've seen that a couple of times from her. But the other big piece with her is we got to remember she's 22 years old. These are young girls. These are young girls. You got to be wondering who's around them, right? Because you need to have a support system around you at that age that's going to guide you and help you to not make certain missteps as it relates to your brand, or you'll find yourself in a brand crisis. So in her case, I know she's come out with this podcast. She's been very transparent about some things, which I think is good. You know what I mean? But then you got to be careful about other things you do, like playing the race card and doing these other things. We just have to really get in your lane, perform, do great, do positive things, and allow that to speak for itself versus getting caught up in all this other stuff. So that's kind of my thought on that.
I'm going to, and I like the way you unpack that. And that's sound advice. But I do want to ask you in all seriousness, and Butter, you chime in as well. Take for someone like myself, my brand is outspokenness and honesty and transparency. And so I'm not sitting around thinking every time I talk, oh, I hope this is perceived the right way. Because I just want people to think, man, Whitlock's really outspoken. He's going to tell me exactly what he thinks. He's going to be honest about it. And that's going to be interpreted in some sort of way. Whereas, and again, that's my job. I'm a journalist. I'm a critic. Correct. And that's my job, my career. Her job and career is a basketball player. And why she's immediately, out of short-sightedness, in my opinion, gone off into, hey, let me get in this battle with Caitlin Clark. Let me be outspoken about this or that. When you're really 22 and you really don't know all that much. So I hear your advice, but I would push back and say, me and Angel Reese are in two different lanes. If she were writing columns and being an opinionist, let it rip. Say whatever it is you think and just be willing to deal with the consequences. I just think there's a little bit of a significant difference between myself and Angel Reese.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think in her case, if the focus goes more on basketball instead of all these other extracurricular things, it would lend itself to a very positive outcome. That's the other thing too. You do stay in your lane. Your lane can be controversial. That's what you do. Now, sometimes you say a few things and I don't know, it just stings, it stings in weird ways. But Butter, what do you think? I mean, you listen to him all the time.
Yeah, I have something to say about that. But Yolanda, I just wanted to tell you, first of all, you look fantastic. You look really good on
you're so
camera
nice.
over there.
I got my little tan going, okay?
Yeah, it's working. It's working. So Jason is kind of like, you ever heard Bitcoin guy? Every time something comes up, they pull it all back to Bitcoin, or cold plunge guy. Anywhere you are, you could be a restaurant. Somehow they'll end up talking about that they cold plunge. Jason has WNBA guy. That's what he does. Any way he can pull a scenario back. Earlier in the show, he compared Lamar Jackson to a WNBA player. He's got the syndrome. And so I think as much as you're helping him with his branding, he's got a little bit of the syndrome that's been going around. And that's probably something you might be able to help him with too.
Yeah.
And you'll have to do it another time, because I've had enough of you. You know, if I let her go on too much, she'll say something. I'll have to put her in the same penalty box we have for you. Comments detrimental to the show.
But at least
good
we
advice
can tell
for
them
Angel
how to
Reese.
get resources. We can tell them how to get good resources for their brand, because people want to do their brand, right? You know, so if you are looking for resources to enhance your brand, or if you're a creator, content creator, a entrepreneur, coach or influencer, and you want to protect your intellectual property, just go on over to cyabiz.com, where we just collate resources for you to make sure that you can do that. Because this is a big thing now. You know, having a personal brand is definitely a requirement and not an option, Jason.
CYA Biz, cover yo, I think, is it for yo-yo? Cover yo-yo app, I think is what it is. Cover yo-yo ass, I think. Anyway, CYA Biz. Yeah, cover your. Anyway, all right, thank you, yo. We will play some tomorrow, and we'll see you next week. Yes.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I wanna be. I wanna be. I just want.